Hi friends, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Melora Melody and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. So today marks the first video that we are reading Reddit stories. Yay! So I have like a little bit of everything in here for today, but maybe in the future I will do like themed stuff, or we can just keep it all over the place like I am. And today, while we are reading some Reddit stories, I will have some Avatar Frontiers of Pandora gameplay in the background as well. So without further ado, let's get into these stories. Here is the first Reddit story. So this was posted in the Two Hot Takes Reddit page. The title is, "Am I the asshole for not telling my boyfriend I peed in bed?" And it starts with, "So, this morning I had a toilet dream with 4 toilets." When I read this first sentence, I was thinking, what? A toilet dream? Okay, so she dreamt of going to the bathroom, which I've had one of those dreams before, I'll be honest. And I woke up and I had to check myself, but the next sentence, with 4 toilets. How do you dream a dream with 4 toilets? How does that happen? Anyway, and I used one of them in the dream, resulting in me kind of peeing the bed. And I didn't tell my boyfriend. Oh boy, here we go. I got up, peed out what little I had left in the bathroom, and I washed up before coming back into bed. Then I put a small blanket over the pee spot and laid back down, not in it, in quotes. I then waited for my boyfriend to get up. So she has a whole plan. Okay, what was her plan? In quotes, she put, "He likes to lay in bed for like an hour before doing anything." So this was quite a painful wait. As soon as he got up, I poured some water on it and told him I spilled water on the bed, to which he just laughed it off and said, "It's okay." Girl, did he not smell anything? That would be my question. Even then, I was still so scared to tell him and didn't tell him. Edit, I put the blanket down so I could spill water so I could get him up to clean it. He did not stay in bed for an hour and nobody laid in pee. It just felt long, but it was a long few minutes. I just wiped it up with a towel and used some baking soda and lemon for the smell and stain, just in case. In quotes, you put, "It didn't stain." Okay, that's good to know. But okay, moving on. I just told him I wanted it extra clean. I think he knew and didn't want to embarrass you. I then blow dried the area and we just went about our day. I feel absolutely horrible. I'm so scared. I don't want to tell him. I feel so shameful. I've never done anything like that before. I'm so embarrassed. Does anyone have a similar experience or story so I can feel a little better maybe? And then we have an edit. Everyone is commenting if I wash the sheets. Yes, I absolutely did. I would not leave it there. That's gross. We both got out of bed right after I washed up. I paired the water. Oh my gosh, can these people not spell? I'm gonna have a conniption reading these. She wrote, "I paired the water as an excuse to wash them, put the sheets in the wash, and cleaned off the mattress." I think she meant to say I poured. I poured the water as an excuse. Okay. "I only used the baking soda and lemon for the mattress, along with water and soap. And yes, my boyfriend and I live together." Okay. So that was our first Reddit story. I feel like he 100% knew that you peed the bed and didn't say anything because he didn't want to embarrass you, especially the fact that he didn't stay in bed for his usual hour, if that's normal for him. I'm pretty sure he definitely knew. Moving on to our second Reddit story. This comes from the actual Am I the Asshole Reddit page. This one is, "Am I the asshole for asking my boyfriend to calm down when playing video games?" So this story is a little bit more serious, and since it has video games involved, I felt like it was a good story to read. And also, I feel like I am going to be very opinionated about this, because I am a gamer myself. I mean, obviously. So they start by saying, "So my boyfriend likes to play a popular shooter game and sometimes does so when he and I call each other. I have explicitly said so many times that I do not mind him playing it or if he wants to go play with his friends." I have an inkling as to what game they could be talking about. "Early today, he was playing while I was reading on call and he starts getting annoyed at the game, which sometimes happens. He will shout, swear, and hit his desk, which frightens me which I have let him know before, but every time he gets defensive and I feel like I'm being overdramatic. I definitely know what video game this is. 90% sure. He will guilt trip me saying that he won't play the game anymore, that he isn't angry while raising his voice at me, and will belittle what I say by saying things like, I don't understand what you are saying, there's nothing wrong. For example, I don't know if I am the asshole, as I have asked times before if he could calm down a little while playing the game, as it's a really uncomfortable situation for me to be in, as when I try and offer support or advice like taking a break from the game, he will even get more annoyed and angry at me. I don't really get how someone can get that angry at a video game. I'm sorry. I'm assuming you're not a gamer because it is very easy to get angry at literally any video game. Anyway, I don't really get how someone can get that angry at a video game, as if I play any games, it's ones that are geared towards being more calming than anything. Okay, so she does play video games, I guess, but it's cozy games. I don't know about you, but I can still rage at a game like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. So yeah, I still support him with his hobby and passion for these types of games. During these situations, I feel as though I can't talk to him at all, as I feel I will receive his anger in some way as a result of the game, so I opt to staying quiet, which is also frustrating as we usually talk while he plays. I always keep my voice at a normal level without being accusatory to avoid creating an argument, and try to say that while getting angry at a game is okay. I would appreciate it if he calms down, especially from hitting his desk, as it's scary for me. No matter what I do, I always end up leaving the situation feeling like the bad person and that I'm overreacting. Am I the asshole? And then they have an edit. Edit. Worth mentioning that my boyfriend has mentioned to me that he has undiagnosed anger issues which run in the family. Okay, well, I feel like I can say a lot, so I don't know where to start with this. First of all, because it makes them feel uncomfortable every time he's raging at the game and getting angry at the game. I feel like she might need to talk to somebody or go to therapy. I would assume maybe she has a past experience in violence that I feel like she needs to talk to somebody about. First of all, because if I see somebody raging at the game or like slamming their fist on the table while playing, that's not geared towards me, right? So I feel like it would not make me feel uncomfortable, but that's just me. And since it makes them feel uncomfortable, I would say maybe talk to somebody about it, because I don't feel like that's a normal response. That's my first opinion. Second of all, to get yourself out of that situation, if it does make you feel uncomfortable, I'm assuming this is either going on over the phone. They mentioned being on a call with their boyfriend. So there's a really easy solution. Don't call him while he's playing video games. I feel like the poster can just like call after or a different time. I feel like that's just a very easy fix right there. Let your boyfriend have their gaming alone time, because especially if he's getting mad, slamming his fist on the table, maybe he needs that stress relief. That's his stress relief. That's a lot of gamers' stress reliefs, actually. I mean, I know it's my stress relief playing video games, so that's his stress relief. If it makes him feel better to slam his fists on the table while playing a game, I mean, I'm not seeing any issues. I'm personally not seeing any issues with that. Like I said, overall, I feel like the boyfriend is just stress relieving through the game. Yeah, I don't see any issues with that, personally. I feel like we should read some comments for this one. The first comment says, I understand what you mean, but I'm the same way when I watch my NFL team play. I'm loud, I swear at the TV, I jump out of the chair, occasionally have many mental breakdowns, I have zero ability to tone it down. My husband and family know this about me and anticipate how things will be on game day. Even the cat hides. I think the difference is I'm only like this one day a week during football season. I don't think either of you are the asshole. It's all about figuring out if this is a deal breaker for you. If it's not, sit down with him and figure out a compromise. Yeah, like people have to stress relieve in some way, and if that's his stress reliever, I feel like leave the room or hang up the phone call, you know? And then we have another comment saying, not the asshole. Your boyfriend says he has undiagnosed anger issues, which the rest of the human race call inability to not act like a It's a matter of time until you do something that he reacts to with physical anger. I disagree. Have some self-respect and let this man-child play with his games while you find someone who doesn't need to use imaginary conditions to justify a lack of control. I disagree with this comment. People need their stress relief. And I don't think just because he's getting mad at a game and slamming his fist on the desk, I don't think that means that he's one day going to turn physical anger to their partner. And then there's another comment saying, you are dating a child. Either he needs to grow up or you need to move on. I also disagree with that. I'm not seeing how this boyfriend is a child just because he's playing video games and getting a little angry at his video games. Like I said, just because they're getting angry at a game or slamming their fist down on the desk playing their game, it doesn't mean that they're gonna turn that physical anger towards you. I feel like in this situation, if the poster feels uncomfortable with their boyfriend doing all this, maybe that's not a relationship for them, or they both need to figure something out. Maybe the poster can leave the room, give him his space and time, and then he'll come out and give his partner attention. Like, there is many ways to compromise this, but I wouldn't put the boyfriend down by any means. I feel like the poster is making an issue where there shouldn't be one, or where I don't know. For me, I'm a gamer. I feel like this should be a non-issue. If you really have an issue with it, leave the room, hang up the phone. Okay? That's how I feel. Anyway, moving on to our third Reddit story. This comes from a Reddit page that's called Petty Revenge, because I love my petty revenge stories. I have to include some petty revenge stories, and I haven't seen anybody else really read revenge stories from Reddit, me personally, so I'm gonna be reading some of them. So this one is not as serious as the last one, but I still feel like I can say a lot about it. So the title is Left My Roommate Out in the Cold. I agree. I've lived with a friend for 7 years now, and he's a nice enough guy, but over the years he has gotten more and more lazy. We have a dishwasher, but he'll leave his used dishes out for days. He never cleans. He has long hair that he leaves in the shower drain, and he expects me to do the laundry. He expects you to do his laundry? No, sir. No, ma'am. You can imagine I'm getting pretty fed up with his behavior. I would too. I'm not doing no grown man or woman's laundry or dishes. You're grown. You can do it yourself. I'm not your mama. Lately, he started forgetting his keys too and call me if I'm out, so I have to come back home to let him in. Of all the things he does, this is the most annoying because I have to drop what I'm doing just to go and help him. Well, after the third time, I had enough, and I told him, if you forget your keys again, I won't come home. If you want to hide an extra key in the shed for when you forget your keys, you'll have to pay for it yourself. That's fair. Get a spare key and hide it somewhere. That's more than fair. He said he would. He makes more money than me anyway, but lo and behold, he never did. Womp womp. The next time he forgot his keys was a cold and rainy day, and I told him again that I was done dropping everything for him, but I'd come home once I was done with my shopping. Just to be extra petty, I went into a few extra stores and really took my time deciding on what to buy. I really took the time deciding what to buy. When I got home, he was sitting in the shed, mostly dry but very cold. He never bought an extra key, but he never again forgot his own after that. Why do I imagine this roommate just out in the shed, just out there freezing, like, and like shaking like a dog in this shed? That was my like imagery that I got in my head when I read that part. That's hilarious and very well deserved. Moving on to our next Reddit story, it is another Am I the Asshole? The title is Am I the Asshole for Not Wanting to Sleep in the Couch of My Apartment? Wait, who's kicking you off your own couch? Let's read. For context, I, male 27, have been dating my girlfriend 25 for a year or so now. I have my own little apartment and my girlfriend girlfriend was living with her parents before she moved into my house a couple months ago, since my house is much closer to her place of work. So we decided with her parents that it would just be much easier for her and we get to spend more time together. That was a long sentence. Everything was moving quite smoothly until 2 days ago when my girlfriend's car had to go into the shop for some maintenance. So I've been dropping her off and picking her up from work, but yesterday I had to finish some things up at my place of work. I texted her I might be a few minutes late. So after work, I go to my car and rushed over to her work. I was around 10 minutes late, which I know is a little too long. Honestly, 10 minutes is not that long. I wouldn't mind waiting for 10 minutes to be picked up. Fast forward to when we get home, I can tell she is upset since she rushed straight to our bedroom and wasn't trying to engage in conversation when I tried to talk to her. Before bedtime, I asked her what's wrong and if this is about me being late, I'm sorry. She said that she was out there in the cold for 10 minutes. Boo-hoo. I'm assuming since it's cold, she had grabbed a jacket for work or something. 10 minutes? She could have waited inside is what she could have done. She said that she was out there in the cold for 10 minutes and that work I needed to finish up could have waited. So he needs to stop. Wait. My brain is hurting. She wanted his work to wait? Okay, that's a little unreasonable. She asked me to just sleep on the couch and she needs space and that we will talk about it tomorrow. I'm sorry. She needs space and time to herself to process that she was out in the cold. Out in the cold for 10 minutes. Oh, girl, be so for real. I told her that I understand, but I'm not sleeping on the couch in my apartment. So then she got up and left to the couch. Okay, girl, you go right ahead and you sleep on a couch. Am I in the wrong here? Is there anything I could have done differently? I feel like the boyfriend was more than understanding, and I feel like she is acting like a little bit like a child. First of all, she could have waited inside her job for 10 minutes. She didn't need to come up with like a boo-hoo story, I was out in the cold for 10 minutes. And then to come home, rush to the bedroom, and be so dramatic and saying she needs all this space and this and that. You would think that they had a much larger argument. You would have think that he'd done something real bad. And also, what kind of privilege does she think she has where she can tell you that your job needs to be put on hold so she can be picked up 10 minutes earlier? She is being over dramatic. So no, not the asshole. Let's read some of these comments because yeah, she was this mad because you were 10 minutes late. I would get being mad if you hadn't texted her you were gonna be late, but you did. That is utterly ridiculous. Send her back to her parents and let them deal with her temper tantrums. I agree. Someone replied, right? Is she really 25 or 15? What a joke. I'm sorry. Not the asshole. If it was cold outside, she could have waited inside till you texted that you were there. She's very immature. That's what I'm saying. She could have waited girl could have waited inside. Good for you in not giving up your bed because Princess said so. Yeah, comments are pretty much saying what I think too, so, you know, not the asshole. Moving on. So, I promised variety, so we're going to end with a scary story. And this one is so well written. It even has a part 2, but we'll have to do that in the next video. Hi friends, before we get into this next Reddit story, I just want to place a quick trigger warning. This story is a scary story and it describes an autopsy. So if you're a little squeamish to things like that, I would suggest clicking off this video. This is the last Reddit story that we're gonna do today. And with that, let's read this story. So this comes from the Reddit page called No Sleep. The title is, I'm performing an autopsy on a pregnant woman, and things keep getting stranger. I knew her. In all my years of work, I've developed a strange relationship with death. I see it as something purely physical. The body in front of me is just an organism who's stopped living. That's all it is, and yet, it took me by surprise to have her on my table. I'd seen her around the hospital before, excited, glowing, talking about what her life would have looked from now on. She was a bit distracted sometimes, saying that great things were coming, but I didn't expect her to die right before giving birth. She was found drowned in her own home with writings on her wrist and on the back of her neck, and she'd been laying in her bathtub for days before her neighbor found her. She had no husband, no relatives. They expected me to rule it as a suicide. I didn't believe that, since it made no sense. Why would she kill herself right before giving birth? Right before becoming a mother? A thing she'd been so excited about. I'd been called in the middle of the night to work on her. They said her body was already in a pretty fragile state, and I needed to be precise and fast before they could wrap this tragedy up. I won't weigh you down with all the gory details. I'll just go over the process really fast so that you'll get an idea of what I do. First came some of the paperwork and observations, along with the external examination and photographs. I didn't notice anything besides the obvious signs of drowning and damage done by the 3 days spent in the bathtub. Although, if I'm being honest, but that might have been just me, I thought that the skin surrounding the writing, wrist, neck was lighter than the rest and harder. Next came the internal examination. I'd been plagued by a wave of sadness, not wanting to move on with the procedure, but I tensed up and kept on working. Again, the usual signs of drowning. I froze with the instruments in hand. I was the only one in the morgue, or at least the only one alive. And it might have been the lack of sleep, or the general eerie atmosphere that was making me feel unsure of what I was seeing. There was no earthly way she could have made those carvings on her ribs. Tiny carvings of the same symbols? My throat was dry, which made me feel like I was choking on air, and suddenly the collar of my scrub felt too tight for me. It wasn't my imagination. Her ribs were covered in these carvings. Could it be some bone-eating bacteria? I knew it was pointless to even ask that question because I knew it wasn't. I took out my phone to take a close-up of the ribs. I know that wasn't too professional, but I had no choice. The moment I took the picture, something clattered in the distance. I looked up to the door to the hallway. No one should be here. I took a sharp breath and carefully put my gloves back on, feeling the blood slowly drain from my face as I worked my way down to her amniotic sac. I was expecting to see something that would make my skin crawl, and I knew that no matter how hard I braced myself, it would still hit me hard. When I opened it, it was empty. There were no signs of fetus. It was as if it had just disappeared, leaving her placenta and the umbilical cord behind, intact. There was no baby there. I stepped back from her and took off my gloves. I rubbed my eyes. That had to be impossible. Her tummy had been perfectly round, and I'm sure there would have been signs if she'd given birth before or after dying. It was inhumane, unnatural, everything indicating a pregnancy existed, all except for the baby. I carefully closed her up, trying not to think about the missing baby and the symbols, and then filed the report. I wrote suicide on it. I wasn't 100% sure of that. I didn't need to be. They'd been clear with the instructions. Just get it done. Fast. I creaked the door open and peered into the hallway. The clattering had come from the supply room, and I hadn't heard the door open or close, so what had done it was still there. I approached it slowly, holding my breath as if I were afraid to make a sound. I placed my hand on the doorknob and twisted. Click. It was locked. On the inside. I knocked. "Hey," I whispered. "Is anyone there?" What followed was an unusual sound, something like someone sucking the air through their teeth. I looked back to the hallway, ending with the morgue. The door was swinging open. I couldn't remember if I'd closed it or not, and I didn't want to. I decided my job was finished there. I closed up and got in my car, then drove home in silence. I live alone, so me coming home at 3 a.m. would not disturb anyone. After doing my night routine and going to bed, I find myself twisting and turning. Strange dreams pressed onto me, like the ones you have when you have a fever. I thought I heard a cry at one point until I realized it had been my own. I opened my eyes, after what seemed like minutes, to discover it was a little over 6 a.m. In the soft glow of the morning, my window had fogged up a bit, and I couldn't help but stare, perplexed, at the fresh print of a child's hand on the inside of the glass. I don't know about you guys. I feel like after reading that story, I feel like I'm not gonna sleep. I'm gonna have nightmares of this. And there's a whole part 2 to this story, I guess, because they posted again in that same Reddit page called No Sleep. I'm performing an autopsy on a pregnant woman and things keep getting stranger, part 2. So we're gonna have to read that in the next video. Alright guys, that is all from me. I hope you were entertained by some of these stories, as I know I was. And that last one gave me chills. I don't know if I will be able to sleep tonight. I will just be thinking of like waking up and seeing like a baby handprint on my window. If you guys have thoughts about any of these Reddit stories, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, if you liked this video, please give a thumbs up. And if you're new here, also please consider subscribing so you can watch more of my future Reddit story / gameplay videos. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!